Hi, I'm Mark Kemsley. We're still talking about doing business in China, and this particular clip is about how to put on a formal meeting. You may be in China, you're at a hotel, you've invited a certain group of people, perhaps a company that you want to form a joint venture with, to visit you. Maybe you've booked the conference room of the hotel, and they're coming into the room. Well, what do? We've already mentioned that you want to have hot tea available for them, and that you ought to have somebody else serving that, and that you need to be careful about how you greet them. But it is very, very important, again, that you give the person who comes in, the person who is of the highest rank, the seat of honor. And what is the seat of honor? That is the seat that is facing the door. Okay? This comes from ancient times when people didn't want to have their back to the door because there could be enemies coming in. You give the person a seat of honor where he's facing the door, and you would normally sit next to them. You might want to sit across from them. That's really quite optional because it's more formal, you would sit across from them. If it's more casual and you want to make it feel more casual, then you would sit next to the person rather than sitting across from the person. Now, when you're starting the meeting, the first thing you want to do is kind of make a speech. As silly as that might sound, you want to express how happy you are to be there in the meeting, how happy you are that they were able to travel to come to visit you there in the hotel. And you want to say something nice, especially about the person who's the highest ranking there. You want to just make the person feel welcome, mention his name, mention his title, and often use people's titles. It's good to use people's names and to refer to them as Mr., but in Chinese, they really don't do that. You wouldn't very often refer to somebody as Mr. If he is President Zhang, then when you're referring to him in the meeting, you say, and how does President Zhang feel about that? Okay, you want to make them feel that they are respected. This is very, very important to the whole process. Now, you probably will be working through an interpreter because most business people in China do not have a working knowledge of English. And so if you're working with an interpreter, that person needs to understand ahead of time what the content of your meeting is about, what your business is about. Otherwise, this interpretation could go really left field. You might want one of them to bring their interpreter, which is great. They will often do that. But even if they do, you're going to want your own interpreter present. Even if they're using their interpreter, you want somebody present who understands both sides of what are going on. And that way, after the meeting, you can sort of have a little session to debrief and find out what those people were saying that you didn't understand. A good way to make a presentation would be to do it through PowerPoint and to have it done in Chinese. You need to understand that the Chinese is different in mainland China and in Hong Kong and in Taiwan. It's completely different in all three places. And so you would want somebody who is local to help you in putting together a Chinese presentation for PowerPoint. Now, if you want to draw on a whiteboard, that's fine. As you do so, don't make it too complicated. Don't put up a whole bunch of words that are scribbled and they can't really understand anyway. Make it more graphical and have the interpreter sort of walk through the process with you.